Next thing we're going to do here is actually going to be sockets. Now a socket is a special connector. It's designed, in fact I just dumped the parts out here on top of the board. These are 6-pin sockets. These are used to attach the MOCs to the PCB. Anytime you have an integrated circuit or integrated chip, you have the possibility of that part going bad. And if you've soldered it directly to the board, that comment I made about rework or trying to unsolder a part comes to play, and it can get difficult. So we come up with these bits to help us out. Now, see if I can get a picture of this one and show it to you. I don't know if you notice, can you see the little notch down? In fact, let me get my pointer back out. There's a little notch in this thing right there. You notice the silk screen for the MOCs. This is them along here. These little notches need to match. It's not really super important for the socket, but the socket sort of tells you that's how the chip goes in. So we want to definitely keep them the same. The pins on these sockets are little stamped metal bits. They are very soft. They're very pliable. If you get one that's all mashed up, then it's no problem to just turn around and fix it. So I'm going to put one on here and look for something that'll help me out here. Grab one of my wife's pencil boxes here. I'm going to put on top, and I'm going to use it to flip the whole thing over. And the reason we do that is so that when we're finished, you see the pins sticking right out. Let's see if we can zero in on the pins coming out here. Here are the pins here. There's 1, 2, 3, and on the other side 4, 5, and 6. Now make sure that each pin comes through, because otherwise it's very, very easy to get one of these pins mashed up between on the other side of the board and actually won't come through the hole. And that's another tough thing of trying to help people debug things when we don't realize they've messed the socket up. When you put your first socket in, notice we put it in notch to notch. I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to solder one single pin. Then we're going to clean the tip, solder iron back in its holder. I'm going to remove my wife's pencil box lid here. We're going to look at this socket. First thing we want to do is make sure that I've got the notch here matched up and I can't see the silk screen underneath. So we're going to look, this silk screen and this silk screen are the same. You see the notch in the socket. Make sure that the socket is flat to the board. So we're going to turn it and try to put this on edge a little bit. Looks like the socket's flat on the board that way. I'm going to turn it end to end, check it again. There we go. So we know it's flat on the board. So now I can turn it over and we can finish soldering in the rest of it. Okay, let's zoom in. Get the focus back on it. And here we go. So again, we'll take a quick look at it with my magnifying lenses here. Make sure I did what I was supposed to do. And I don't like how much solder. Once again, these are those oblong pads, and I didn't get enough solder on one of these. I'm not sure. I wonder if you can see it. It's this one right here. There we go, much better. Now just take a look. I'm going to slide through. I'm going to put all these in, flip them over, and solder them all at one time. Just remember to check your pins. In fact, the first one I pulled up, if you can see, you got a little pin bent. All you gotta do is just take your fingernail, bend it back down. These things are quite malleable, but they do get damaged every once in a while, and you have to make a bit of an effort to straighten a couple of them out. Now you saw me use a cardboard to make these sit in. People will use tape. Again, I got to straighten up some slightly bent pins here. Tape works well. I prefer just to grab another PCB or something, stick it across the top, and keep everything flat and flip it over clean. The tape leaves residue on the board that I've never been real super happy with. We might also mention the sockets are completely optional. MOCs don't go bad that much. I've repaired a few in my time without the sockets in them. But it's if you're new to soldering, you can mess up a socket really bad, and you just throw it away and get another one. These things are relatively cheap, so it's always a good thing to do initially. I wouldn't use the optional nature of them unless you get a lot more, unless you're very experienced. Remember earlier I mentioned about making sure that they were flat, and while we only do one pin, I don't know if you can see this, but I got a couple here that are actually up off the board. For instance, right over here, these. Now what I'm going to do is simply turn the board back over, heat up those one pads. Since they're only one, all I got to do is push a little bit on them. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to straighten these little pins out. There goes one. There goes two. You can feel them actually pop right in when they, after the joint heats up. That one was already in. In fact, I think I just burnt my finger. I think I have those done right. I'll take a quick look. Let's see. Yeah, those look relatively okay. No complaints. So I'll turn these back over, put them down directly onto the table. That'll keep them solid while we solder in the rest of the pins. Now this is 5 times 8 pins, so it'll take a few minutes here. Take a quick look. These really need a look because there's so many of these. It's very easy to just flat out forget to solder one in. Alright, that looks good. There's no need to snip anything. These are the right length to begin with. We'll back out. We'll give you a view of this half here, and we'll start laying in the sockets for the other half. Those are in. My trusty little piece of cardboard here again. And once again, I'm going to solder in a single pin on each one of these. Make sure they don't go anywhere. Alright, clean the tip, put this over. We're going to do the exact same thing we did before as far as checking for items that have slipped higher. Just slowly work fingers through. Heat the joint, press it through, let it cool. You can feel them respond from underneath. Okay, should be able to set on the table. Stretch out a nice good piece of solder here and go to town with the rest of them. Don't know if you can see the actual smoke coming up from the solder. You'll hear all people talk about how toxic it is, and it's probably not good for you. I just sort of kind of blow it away as I'm working on it. They do make fume extractors and a few other things that make it not quite so bad, but what you're smelling is actually flux burning and cleaning the joint. If you're very young, I'm old enough, I don't think I need to worry about it, but if you're a young guy, it wouldn't hurt to put a small fan in here to keep it off of you. Alright, there goes the final socket. Pull it back in. We'll flip it over. Take a quick look at the PCB as it stands now.